Yo, what's good, YouTube? So today we are now roughly about a week into Chapter 2. We've gotten to play Dominion for a week. We've gotten to play some VR for about a week. So now we're gonna talk about class tiers and where we fit in which classes on the top for VR and which classes on the bottom for VR and which classes on the top of Dominion and for the bottom of Dominion. I know that it's also Wednesday, by the way, so it's a little confusing that we're not doing a weekly Wednesday roundup video. However, weekly quests have been shifted. They're not currently right now out. So we're gonna figure out when they come out. Either they're gonna roll out tonight, Wednesday night, and they're gonna the video will be out on Thursday, or they're gonna roll out and change on Thursday night, so the video will be out on Friday. So we're gonna break down BR first, the Battle Royale, and then we're gonna do Dominion. Battle Royale, we're gonna do a little more condensed. So I'm gonna go ahead and list it off. For the BR, I've got Tox in the first place. So Tox will be the best class in the BR. And we're gonna go down the list. Tempest, Conduit, Pyro, Stoneshaper, Frost. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that. That's fine. We've got Tox. Tox is going to be that, like, it has a lot of burst damage. I mean, you know, it's got the outbreak. It's got Vanishing Mist, and you've got Shadow Step or Invis to help you with that outbreak. You can also pair it with a long range gauntlet and make it good. I think it's still probably in BR, probably one of the better competitive builds would be the toxicologist with frost offhand, even though we do have that frost hover on everything. So then you've got Tempest, which even though they changed Squall from just jumping to being in the class and wind slapping the ground or being going through updraft, it's still a very, very good class. It still has a lot of potential in there. And then you've got Conduit, which now we have a damage bonus off of having a rune charge. So you use your rune, you get the rune charge from lightning strike, and then you already have potential energy where you do damage just by holding M1. So then you've got inspired as well, and you can just pair that damage with that damage, wait for your sorcery to cool off, and then you can just use it again. You can use your rune, and then use it again, and then use your rune, and then use it again, and you just have pretty much instant damage. In BR, where you can be kind of separated and run away if you'd like to, or kind of kite people, which will be a little bit easier in BR than it would be in Dominion to use that. Pyro is such a weird spot right now because they did just buff Flame Wall. So this is why we'll get into Dominion. Pyro is a little bit higher seated in Dominion, but they did just buff Flame Wall, so it now does 18 per tick. Not per tick, 18 per second. So then you got paralysis, and then it does double that. So the firewall did get buffed, which is why I have it ahead of Stoneshaper. I wouldn't have had it ahead of Stoneshaper if they didn't like buff something in the class. The Fire Gauntlet, don't get me wrong, is the best gauntlet in the game. Fire is the best gauntlet in the game. However, the Pyro was not in Chapter 2 or in Chapter 1. Very good. It was kind of very lackluster. The design of the class doesn't really make a lot of sense with how you would like to play the class, but it is what it is. Then you got Stoneshaper. Stoneshaper has more sustain. I would say more sustain. It has a lengthened sustain now that you can stone slam to get your shield all the way up. It's down, however, nerfed from 5 to 3 shield per stone slam, so it doesn't have more sustain. It just has lengthened sustain, which is why it's down at the bottom, and it still has no mobility. Frostborn. So this is Frostborn being at the end does not, to me, mean that the skills inside of this class are bad. It's just you can get almost every skill inside this class as an offhand. I mean, you can get probably the best skill in the class, which is going to be the very first one, Alacrity, and being immune to frozen, just by having ambidextrous. You can also use tracking to see targets. I mean, there's so many things you can do. You can use Fortitude instead of the Tundra Immune. Like, there's so many things you can do outside of the class. And you can use Inspired as well for the damage at the end. So, like, there's, like, so many things you can do to get Frost, basically. Frostborn, as it's an offhand as Frost. So that's why I put it at the end. So for Dominion, we're going to break it down a little bit more. So we are a week in, like I said. So I'm going to start off with Tempest being the number one. Tempest is currently, so they didn't give Tempest, or they didn't give Wind the fervor or the cast speed bonus that they gave to everything else minus lightning. They didn't hit it with 18%. They hit it with 15%, which is, by the way, base fervor from Chapter 1. That is base fervor is 15%. However, they did up its damage. So Wind off the bat, I mean, this is not like a gauntlet tier list. However, you got to keep this in mind, is Wind is already pretty gross. And I so far, I've seen it everywhere. I've seen Wind spam everywhere and tornadoes everywhere. Plus you throw it in Tempest where you wind slap the ground and you get that squall bonus. It just makes it even more deadly. Plus you can use your tornado, get up above it, and then blow up your tornado on a point, and it's tornadoes are way more of a crowd controlling problem in Dominion than I thought it was going to be. It's way more of an issue. It's way more powerful than I thought they would be. I have a theory as well that because our floatiness and our gravity is less, I have a theory that the tornado also pulls us more than it did. I don't know if they actually buffed that or not. However, I feel like the tornado did. So you use Tempest, you got the squall bonus. You use updraft, you can get above them. You throw fire down into the bottom of the tornado. You tick everybody that's around the point, or you put a tornado in the middle, which we mentioned earlier is now 18 damage per second in the middle of a tornado. They can't really go anywhere, especially on these points that are pretty small anyways. So Tempest is going to be really nice. You can wind run with dexterity if you want to. You can get all the way up to plus 15 run speed and then wind run. There's a lot of things you can do with Tempest in the number 1 slot. So we've got number 2, and in chapter 1, I never thought I would have said this. However, fire itself is a fantastic gauntlet. It is a fantastic gauntlet. It is, in my opinion, the most well-rounded, the best at doing anything, especially in Dominion, at keeping people in an area or getting them out of an area that you want to. Constant pressure, constant everything like this. So they did, like we've said multiple times, buff Flame Wall, and Pyrolysis just doubles that buff. So you throw a firewall down, you do a lot of damage. I mean, there's nothing you can say about it. And you can also use your firewall to Firefly. I've always loved Firefly. Firefly is the only reason that I have run Pyro for 2 years, or however long Firefly's even been in the game, but you get the point. Like, fire is fantastic. You can place the wall down. You do that double damage if you have pyrolysis, which is only 4 minutes into the game. So you've got that for that pyrolysis damage, and you can just Firefly through the firewall over and over. And then by the time your Firefly is down, you have another wall, so you just put it down again. You don't really have to stay on the point very much just to control the point. Pyro's very, very good at this. A lot of people are going to try to say Conflag is good, but Conflag, if you hit somebody, doesn't stack on the ignite. Next, we've got Tox. In Tox, I don't necessarily mean the sneaky vanishing mists Tox that you may want to play. I specifically mean the fact that Tox has a lot of dragon fire potential. You've got 3 clouds, you've got sticky puddles. You can garden somebody from forever away. You can literally just sticky puddle entire area, shoot it once with fire, blow up the entire area, let it just tick for forever. No one can touch it. Then you also have your 3 clouds that you can use if you want to for vanishing mist, but you're probably gonna get blown up. And then you also have outbreak shadow step damage if you really want it. I mean, there's so many things you can do with Tox in crowd control currently. If you want to, you can also stay invis if you want to, sneak up on a point, smack somebody for that insane amount of damage. There's a lot of things you can do in the toxicologist build that may not be what you are used to in the BR build, because you aren't going to play it like you would with frost offhand. I think you should play it with fire offhand if you want to just blow things up, because currently AoE is king. Which brings me to stone. Stone can help carry that. A stoneshaper can help carry that AoE if you want to. It's just very good at catching people who are on the ground, capping a point. You also have 50 damage boulders now. They increase that. Like I said in the BR though, it doesn't have that same sustainable, that quick punch sustainable of +5 at each slam. It's +3 shield each slam. However, you can go up all the way. I don't know if you're ever gonna get that, because you're gonna get zapped with lightning or a wingspan or any kind of anything like ignite or corrosion is going to pretty much take away any of your slams, because it's 3 armor per slam. You're not really having that, you don't have enough stone slams in you to get you up quickly with it. However, you do have those 2 50 damage boulders, and you do get to you can just stone slam right through an entire point and possibly hit a lot of players in the middle. Also, it's very good for jungling. If you have all 3 of them lined up, you just pop, done. You have all 3 of them, you get those things up, you throw a vampiric on there, you have your health that pops up quicker. So there you go. Conduit. Conduit is not in a fantastic spot for Dominion. However, the lightning gauntlet is still fantastic. Conduit is still good. You can still use it with specific talents. You can also use this as just a way to have a rune in your pocket at all times. Plus, you have the lightning strikes. Lightning strikes are very good for this the control point control. Like, it does 5. If like the amount of damage you can do with your runes, I mean with your the amount of damage you can do with your sorceries is pretty insane. Not to mention the fact that sorceries, the cooldown scales by your rarity. So if you have a legendary rarity, lightning gauntlet, you're gonna have more chances to have more damage and more zone controlling lightning strikes. I mean, you're just gonna have more to it. Lightning still is the only gauntlet in the game that can just poke check. And I know this is not a gauntlet gun, like I said in the beginning, but you have the extra damage on potential energy, and you can have that extra damage by doing a lightning strike and having a rune in your pocket with inspired. So like, there's ways to make lightning work. There is plenty of ways. I just have it in the bottom because, like I said, AoE is king right now. And AoE, whether it's overpowered, too much, or whatnot, it's still king. And that's just why I bring Conduit to the bottom, because it doesn't have that AoE effect outside of its sorcery. And then you got Frost, which Frost itself is great, but like I said in the BR one, you can Frost, if you have an entire team that you're playing against that's using a Frost Gauntlet, you're gonna have a very tough time, especially on like Himwood, Halcyon, and Bogmore. You're gonna have a very tough time, potentially with Dustpool as well, with people on top of those towers. You're gonna have a tough time. However, you can still get almost every single skill outside of Frostborn. It's not gonna be the exact same, but it's gonna be basically good enough. Plus you can use any other class's skills with those skills. So that's why I put Frostborn in the bottom, because it's just not, you just don't need the class to do the same thing. And then you can have other classes benefits as well. Like if you want to play it on Toxicologist, and then you have Outbreak, and you have all of those clouds, and you have Sticky Puddles. There's just more you can do with Frostborn outside of Frostborn. So that's why it's at the bottom of both BR and Dominion. Guys, I'm sure this list will change. I'm sure the things will be nerfed or buffed or whatever in the next week or so, maybe in the next 2 weeks or 4 weeks or possibly 7 months from now. But we'll eventually, this tier list won't be any matter, and then we'll just make another one. We'll make another class tier list. But for now, that is chapter 2, the beginning of chapter 2 class tier list for both BR and Dominion. I love you guys. Have a great freaking day. Peace.
They stay biting like where them mosquitoes at. I'm on point like an elbow. Hands red like Elmo. My mama said, have you had enough? I looked and I said, no ma'am. I go ham in the grocery store.